Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the walk-off. So we do a show every single Monday. It's called MLB Mondays, and it is a Patreon exclusive. $4 a month, you get 4 extra shows. You get instant access to all of our interviews, and then you also, on top of that, get what we call the Patreon bump for Tuesdays. Monday morning mailbag on a Tuesday afternoon. So any comments, questions like that. Now, obviously, you've already figured out that this is available to the public right now. We decided we'd put out a bonus episode, if you will, kind of a little advertisement for Patreon. And also, we're probably going to spend most of the episode talking about Bo Bichette's comments with Shai Davidi of Sportsnet in the article that was just released today. We've got all
This
sorts of quotes.
changes everything.
This changes everything. Put it on a thumbnail. Before we dive in, I'm Scott Belford, by the way, joined as always by the best co-host in the biz, Adam Mack. This Thursday, so we've been doing Baseball Town since last September. Basically, what it is we bring down a panel of baseball analysts and we put on a baseball show. And this month, we have some favorites coming back. So, of MLB.com, Keegan Matheson is going to be on the panel for this final show of the season. We've got Adam from Blue Jays Today. We've got a couple maybes still. I don't want to even say names, but I will say that the boys from At the Letters. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. I know I was talking with Ben today, and he was saying that he won't even know until the day of. So I don't wish to get you there on the idea that that's what's going to go on, but it might happen. If not, I'll tell you what, pretty cool, pretty good guest panel anyways.
Yeah. I don't want to say the other name because it's even blew my mind. So
yeah. So there are some maybes on the fence here. We also have Tim Langford. He's the PA announcer for the Blue Jays. So we're going to do some stuff with him. I'm excited to chat with him. I'm definitely going to get him to, I know this is very Tonight Show and fucking, I can't believe, what is it? Jimmy Fallon. There we go. This is very Jimmy Fallon, but I'm definitely going to get him to read out some stuff in his PA announcer voice.
Nice. Very nice.
Should be fun. And then finally, we always do a team roast. So this week's team roast is going to be the New York Mets versus the Miami Marlins. It should be fun. I bring in a couple of comics from the Toronto scene to do that. And it's funny because I put on Twitter here about the show this morning, and 2 of the comments were, the roast is worth the price of admission alone. So it does get funny. It is a funny, fun show. And honestly, it's a great place for Blue Jays fans to get together and lament this shit season. Kind of a therapy session of sorts, if you will. So again, tickets for that, I'm going to put them into the comment section here. But it's the last show of the year. So come on out, check it out, see what Baseball Town's all about. If you've been thinking of coming, now's your chance. So let's do it. Okay, there's our
Baseball Town. Are you still putting that on YouTube?
I haven't been, but I have been putting a bunch of reels out on the Walk-Off's Instagram page. So if you want to kind of get a feel for that, yeah.
Okay. And the roasts are still available on Patreon. You're putting those on Patreon, or we stopped putting?
I haven't been, but that's a great idea. Yes.
Because I know the first one was on Patreon, and that was a popular one.
Maybe that's what I'll do then. I'll start throwing them back on Patreon too, as this is a Patreon little advertisement here. So,
there we go. So if you're not in Toronto, you can't make it to Baseball Town. $5 for the Patreon. You can watch and listen to the roast anyways.
Exactly. Great idea, buddy.
There you go. Look at me.
You're like, we were doing that, Scott.
Not my idea. Great reminder, buddy, is what you meant to say.
Okay, so let's get into it here. Let's talk some Blue Jays. Normally, MLB Mondays is far more league-wide stuff, but some major news dropped this morning, and in my opinion, very exciting news, because the truth is, when you talk about the Toronto Blue Jays, you talk about this front office and 2025 and the lip service that was given about them wanting to compete next year. I feel like everything changes if Bo Bichette and Vladimir Guerrero Jr. wind up getting locked up this offseason. And I'm not saying that that's even a possibility, but for the first time, all this speculation about Bo and him being a malcontent and being unhappy and not wanting to be in Toronto, if nothing else, Bo has come out and said pretty much the opposite of that. Hard quotes on paper where Bo is saying he wants to be in Toronto. So this is the quote that really stood out to me. My ultimate goal really is to play with Vladdy forever, to win a championship with him, and to do that with this organization. I'm 100% committed to doing whatever it takes to accomplish those things. That's where I'm at. And it's interesting, Adam, because Bo's been away from the team for a while. He came back at the end of August after rehabbing and feeling a little bit better. He's been in the dugout in the clubhouse. And it's the old saying, absence makes the heart grow fonder.
Mm-hmm.
And if you read the article, and I suggest you do, if you're a Blue Jays fan, Shai Davidi on Sportsnet kind of laid out Bo's thoughts and his struggles over the last month. And the idea is that what I took from it is basically Bo was able to do some real internal investigation on what he actually wants out of baseball. And if what he's saying is true, which I don't know why it wouldn't be, outside of maybe, like, worst case scenario, the front office went to him and was like, listen, I know you want out, you want to be traded, you've taken all of our leverage away in not smiling ever and have let the speculation just get completely out of hand. If you go out and give the lip service, maybe we can get some of that value back and move him. That's literally the worst case scenario, but far more likely, I think Bo Bichette has kind of come to a realization that, like, you know what? The guy who knows the most about him, the guy who's gone through the same struggles as him, the guy who relates the most to what he has gone through is his good friend, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., who also was a bloodlines guy who dealt with extreme pressure. And maybe watching Vladdy succeed like this, Bo's like, you know what? If I can get back, we are unstoppable. I don't know, man. What were your thoughts on what Bo Bichette said? And even more to that, has this speculation about him being a malcontent and being unhappy, like, it's, how unfounded do you feel it is? Like, do you think the fan base has gotten a little out of hand with it?
Oh, for sure. Um, all of his struggles this season are, it seems like by the fan base anyways, entirely chalked up to he's unhappy, he wants to win, and the team's not winning, so he's fucking over it. So he's not trying and blah, blah, blah. But like, he's injured. Like, we don't know the extent of a calf injury here or there. Like, Joey Votto stepped on a bat and it ended his career.
Yeah.
Like, I still maintain if Votto didn't hurt himself in spring training, he would have played for the Blue Jays at some point this year.
Yeah.
Right?
And Adam, I mean, there's a lot of people who bring up last year, right? They're like, well, Bo hasn't been very good since coming back from injury last midsummer. To which I kind of say he came back from injury. Like, maybe he just hasn't been well in a year. It's not impossible at all.
So, I mean, on the season, his numbers last year look great. 306 batting average, 814 OPS. in 135 games. This season is, yeah, it's bad. Like everyone wants to point to, he has a negative WAR this season.
Yeah.
Negative 0.3 with an OPS plus of 69. Nice.
Mm-hmm.
It's been 80 games.
So
It's
this is another quote from Bo. I feel like I've learned a lot more about myself through failure. Whether that be on the field or maybe not feeling like I led as good as I should have, just a lot of reflection, seeing what I can do better. I can do better on the field, but I can also be better off the field, in the clubhouse, everything. I'm just looking forward to having an opportunity to do better. Being injured is frustrating.
it is. Yeah, I don't really know what to say. Like, I want to still give Bo all the apologies I can. Like on his, I want to be a Bo apologist and explain away this campaign.
Yes.
Um, for me, he's still the Bo Bichette that I'm hoping the injury is just a blip on the radar, and next season and beyond, he's back to playing 159 games a year and leading baseball in hits.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see any reason that can't happen. Um, the words he's using now publicly, I mean, I do wonder the timing of it all.
Yeah.
Next year is a payday year. What is his value on the open market versus what it is with the Jays? Like, I'm going to just speculate here, and this might come across negatively, but realistically, we saw earlier this year where like Jeff Passan was like, there's no way a first baseman's getting 300 million, referring to Vlad, and then course corrected and was like, oh shit, I had a bunch of industry like top front office guys reach out and be like, oh no, he's getting that much,
Yeah.
kind of a
Don't
thing,
be an
right?
idiot, Jeff. Yeah.
Yeah. So like the facts are these talks happen, right? Like sure there's tampering and like you can't officially like have contract negotiations with a guy like Bo right now under contract and blah blah blah. But like let's not be naive that his agent hasn't had some off the record conversations with the teams that they've probably been viewing as contenders in
Potential
the
suitors.
or
Absolutely.
suitors in the Bo Bichette market. And maybe the numbers they're hearing aren't as good as they were hoping. You know, like maybe I know Bo signed his 3 year like buy out the arb years deal with the
Mm-hmm.
Blue Jays last off season or whatever. Um, there has to have been at some point in these 7 years an offer of long term, like that obviously Bo was not happy with or disappointed with whatever maybe it was like a hey, we'll give you 12 years, 250 million kind of a thing, right? Just
Yeah.
throwing out numbers. And Bo goes, "Oh no, I can get way more than that. I'm gonna get 375. Like, look what this
Yeah.
shortstop or that shortstop just signed, right? Project that and inflate it over 4 more years. I'm gonna get more than that." And I just mean maybe this off season, or maybe like throughout this season, those off the record conversations were like, "Oh, like you might get a Matt Chapman deal.
Yeah.
Like you might get 150 over 6 is probably the best offer we're gonna get right now." Whereas the most recent offer from the Blue Jays was maybe still like 225 over 7 or something. Again, just making up numbers, right?
Yes.
Where all of a sudden he goes, I am worth more to the Blue Jays than I am to anybody
Yeah.
else, right? They're willing to overpay me,
I'm
face of the
comfortable in
franchise,
Toronto.
bullshit. Yeah, like all of that.
I do
So,
love Vladdy. And that is one thing. Through all this speculation of how discontent he has been and how he's miserable and wants out, his friendship with Vlad has never been in question, right? Like there
no,
is nonstop photos and video, and you just tell, you can tell
no.
they have a good relationship.
So Toronto isn't the barren wasteland that it feels like right now when we're whatever 10 games under
Yeah.
500 and it's been a bad year. There's no bones about it. But yeah, like maybe that's just the reality is like and then again with the like comeback year that Vlad's had and the how much the fans have embraced him, that's the like uh the North Star for Bo to guide his 2025 campaign of like clearly the fans are also dissatisfied with what Bo's done this year and whatever. But he's also like a great season away from just being loved again.
Yeah, of course. Of course.
Right?
Look at
Like
Vladdy, right?
so
Like that's a
that's what
great
I mean. So
example.
so
Yeah.
seeing Vlad just be like again was also like, is he a bust? Like just fucking trade it. Like we can't give
Yeah.
this guy all that money. Ugh, right? Like one hit wonder, like all just the crazy talk from the fans and how much he's been embraced. Like so there is definitely like if you're performing, Bo, like the fucking Blue Jays are
Yeah.
still gonna love you. You'll be on
Yeah.
those Uncrustables commercials, and So yeah, I think those are the factors that I think are behind his recent comments of like, hey, I'd still love to be here. Like, I think that's a like, hey guys, is that 225 still on the table?
Yeah.
Like that's kind of what it feels like. And I don't know. I'm in the camp of this season is the blip on the radar, and the other 5 years on his resume is the real Bo Bichette. So if
Yeah.
we
I feel
came
the
in
same way.
and gave him a big deal, whatever the numbers were, and it feels like, how can we just give that guy this much money? He just had the season he had. It's like, yeah, we're buying low on a guy that we believe in, and I'd be fucking so thrilled with that.
Me too. This is a really interesting offseason in that I think extensions are going to be the major priority from this front office. I know it would be if I was in Mark Shapiro's shoes because the
Mm-hmm.
truth is if they underperform next year,
Mm-hmm.
but they manage to lock up one of or even more impressively
Mm-hmm.
both,
Both.
it gives you some leeway with your time. And this is an interesting idea that would flip everything we've been saying because I know yesterday I got some comments and some DMs from people just commenting on your view of Spencer Horwitz and these kids. Which, by the
Okay.
way, for everyone that thinks Adam's being down and negative, that I didn't take that's what you said, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here. I took from what you said is you got to see more. You need to see it proved before jumping off the deep end on 3 months of proof. Love what Horowitz is doing. I
Yeah.
truly do think the guy has it in him to be a 20 home run, 40 double, just under an 800 OPS guy. I truly believe that. However, I
Okay.
will say this it is just as risky, in my opinion, to put the hope that that's what happens with Spencer, to put the hope that Will Wagner plays 150 games and hits 300 at second base for this team, to put the hope that Vladdy moves to third or something like that so that Spencer isn't a
Mm-hmm.
problem defensively
Yeah.
at second, which he has been because, of course, it's the first
Mm-hmm.
time he's ever played second base. So it's just as risky doing that, in my opinion, as it was getting Justin Turner and hoping Kevin Kiermaier repeats his production and that Daniel Vogelbach fills in admirably. Like
Well, that's the
every
I mean, the fan base is frustrated that we're rolling the same thing back and we're banking on a bounce back season from Bo and Vlad and Springer. Like, okay, what's more likely, Bo and Vlad to rebound to MVP votes form? These generational talents who come from the greatest genes you could ask for from like a genetic, like they're just,
yeah, the genetic
they had
freaks.
every option to
Absolutely.
be built as a baseball player. Do you think that's more likely, or do you think a guy who was drafted in the 26th round is more likely to take that next step? Like,
And I hope he does. Like that's the thing.
I do
Like
too.
of
Sure,
course.
I do too.
Friend of the
But
show.
like,
Like, yeah.
it's just crazy to be like, we're down on the team, the front office, for just like banking on these superstars bouncing back. But then we want the team to bank on these like overachieving minor league workhorses to continue their ascension. Like, I don't follow the logic of like Davis Schneider is the best thing since sliced bread. Look at the amazing 7 games he had last September. I'm
Yeah, yeah,
being
yeah. Let's not
too
downplay
dismissive
it.
of
It
Davis
was
Schneider.
incredible what he
He
was
did have
doing,
a
but
great end
yes.
of the season. But like, okay, and then guess what? We saw like who he really is now, like, which is again one of the best baseball players in the world,
Yeah.
but not a guy you can have on a playoff contender. And if that
Yeah.
just again, that's the window for my any of like me being down on Spencer Horwitz is purely on that. It is
Yeah.
just the like we can't be a playoff contender in 2025 in the toughest division in baseball, banking on Will Wagner, Addison Barger, Spencer Horwitz,
Joey
and
Loperfido.
Joey Loperfido to just like have Santiago Espinal type 2022 seasons. Like,
And I love all
it's
those guys
just
you just mentioned, by the
unfair.
way. Like, I'm actually pretty high on all of them. And I think that, and so this is where if, if they manage to get extensions done on Bo and Vlad, then I'm a little bit more willing to see what happens with this youth because you're not in that time crunch. Like as it is, I really think it's going to be difficult to compete in 2025. But if you lock up this core, I really do think
The urgency
letting
to win now is gone. Sure. You do extend the runway significantly. Yes. I'm with you. I'm with
And
you.
then, you know what? If you're going to bet on Spencer Horowitz and maybe you only go out and get one bat, maybe you only get Anthony Santander and you're hoping that we run this back and you're hoping Will Wagner works out and you're hoping Joey Loperfido as your fourth outfielder winds up finding his footing and shows that opposite power that he has shown and hits righties the way we've seen, like he can. Sorry, lefties. Like there is a big reason to be hopeful with this new stable of guys.
I'm I
But
can't get on that train with you, Scott. I can't.
well, all I'm saying is like I'm fine with it if these guys are locked up. But if they're not locked up, then the lip service of they're going to compete in 2025, how do you put your eggs in that basket?
I just don't I can't get on board with a core of those guys. Whether Bo and Vlad are extended or not, like it's just not.
Because I think if they're extended, you have leeway, and you can go get one. I mean, you still got to completely revamp the bullpen. You still need a starting pitcher that's a top three guy, in my opinion. You still need one big bat, but maybe I can handle betting on one of those guys instead of going and getting
Sure.
two big bats.
Yes, I'm fine with one of those guys. I'm fine with having 4 lottery tickets and being like, well, hopefully one of these guys pans out and can
Yeah,
play
yeah.
second base or left field for us next year. Sure. Like, I'm fine with that. What I'm not fine with, though, is the idea that, like, we're going to have multiples. Like, even two is too many. If we're going to have two, we should just be in a full rebuild because that's what we're going to get for a product on the field. Like, sorry, but it's just as crazy to me to be penciling in for April of next year, Will Wagner, Spencer Horowitz, and Addison Barger. It's just as crazy as signing Justin Turner and being like, well, this 39-year-old DH can still bang. Like, yeah, maybe he can. And like there was parts of the season where he looked good again, like at the start of the year. But it's just like, do you want to? That was the mistake we made, though, was this offseason. Was we put all our eggs in the like, well, Justin Turner basket,
Yeah.
right? And then when it didn't work out, we're like, oh, okay, the year's a fucking waste. The whole year is a write-off. And that's just the path that we're going down if we're going to, whether we lock up Bo and Vlad or not, to be like, well, let's see what we got in these new kids. And it's like, okay, then we're not worried about winning this year. Like, it's just out of the question. We're if we have 2 or 3 of those guys as everyday or combined, 4 of them combined to be 2 every, like, they're splitting a position each. It's not a playoff team next year. Like, we're not better than the Yankees. We're not better than the Orioles. And with the White Sox inflating the record of the AL Central, and that's not going to change next year.
Yeah.
The wild card is, I don't know, man. Like,
it's probably,
there's one wild card for sure coming out of the AL East.
Yeah.
I'd say also for sure coming out of the AL Central. And then do I like our chances of taking a spot from the Red Sox and Rays and the Royals and Twins? Like,
in Texas.
Like, yeah, and Texas is going to rebound because they're still good on paper. They're having a weird, like, it's just, you're not doing that with Spencer Horwitz and Will Wagner and Barger and Lopper Feet, like, or pencil in Elvis Martinez and be optimistic that he is good again. Like, it's just,
honestly, dude, I agree though. I totally agree. If this team,
there's just no way of saying that without sounding like I don't like Spencer Horwitz, and I do.
Yeah.
I'd say it to his face. Like, we'll have him back on the show, and I'll be like, hey, man, I love you as a 26th man on this team.
Yeah.
Don't like you as a everyday second baseman going into April, like, unknown. Like,
until I do. Like, that's the thing, right? Like,
I'm still rooting for you. I
don't want to pencil him in as the sure thing until he proves that he absolutely is the sure thing. And the only way.
But also, if we go out and sign Alex Bregman and Teoscar Hernandez, and now the lineup looks like Teoscar, Varsho, and Springer in the outfield, and whatever, sure, Opperfido can be our 4th outfielder. That's fine. And then in the infield, it's Vlad at 1st, Spencer Horwitz at 2, Bo Bichette at short, and Bregman at 3rd. I'm cool with that. Yeah. I'm fine with that. But just adding Teoscar in left field, or whatever the equivalent is, and then being like, well, between Spencer Horwitz, Addison Barger, and Will Wagner, we've got 2nd and 3rd covered. Like, no, we don't. That's not enough. That's not enough. Because there's going to be that, like, that same issue we saw with Espinal and Biggio. And who was the other second baseman that year that was fighting for time?
Schneider?
Was it Schneider?
I think when he got called up there. I mean, it's funny.
No, it was at the start of the year, but it was right after Espinal had his All-Star game season, which was, I think, 2020, 22. Oh, yeah. Anyways, doesn't matter. Someone who's clearly not with the team anymore. But, like,
or one of the plethora of second basemen we have right now.
Sure, right? But yeah, the point being is when Espinal goes from getting 5 games a week to getting 2 games a week, like, your back goes cold pretty quick. Like, it's hard to stay in game shape at 100% when you're only playing part-time. And, like, that's the scenario of having those 3 guys split those 2 positions, because it's really, if you got those 3 guys splitting 2 positions, you're also splitting another guy in there as well. Like, it's going to be a 5-man committee for 2 positions, and everyone's going to play 30% of the time. And it's like, and we're just going to hear from John Schneider in March, like, yeah, it's competition, and that's a great thing because competition breeds whatever, and then whoever takes the job is gonna earn their playing time. And it's like, okay, well, that's
what 4th place teams in their division say.
Yeah, like, I don't think that almost ever works out where the competition breeds a 300 hitter with an 850 OPS. Usually everyone falls off, and it's who falls off the least.
Yeah.
right? It's like, well, one guy's hitting 240 with a 700 OPS, and everyone else is hitting 195 with a 600 OPS. So the 240 guy with the 700 OPS, he's the guy that won the job. And it's like, oh, yay. We
Hmm.
have those two guys as our infielders. It's just,
Man, this
sorry to be
offseason,
negative, but
no. You're being realistic. This offseason is going to be so incredibly interesting for what this front office does because the truth is, the one thing that Shapiro and Atkins have never done in their 9 years of being at the helm of this organization is do a mega deal. There has never been a mega deal done. And it does make me wonder if we're coming up on a moment in time where the $700 million that had been okayed from Rogers for Shohei Ohtani last year, if there's some sort of crazy world where we can get Bo locked up, Vladdy locked up, and bring home Teoscar. And I think the vibes, I know it's such an intangible thing to say, and it's a ridiculous thing to bet on is vibes. But honestly, man, if you're going to lock up your two quote unquote generational talents, these guys that have been touted as the dudes for the last 6 years, the two guys that have been hyped since their introduction into the organization, if you can lock them up, bring in a guy like Teoscar for that power bat that they've desperately needed since he left. This is also Teoscar Hernandez loves Toronto. Now, he's probably had it with this front office, and who knows if he'd even be prepared to get back into bed with them. But in this scenario, if the money's right, money cures a lot of things, Adam.
does does.
And can you get those 2021, 2022 vibes back with a new young core? That's the thing too, is like Vladdy and Bo, maybe they did get the pressure put on them too soon and fail.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe the last 2 years was the front office truly thinking that they could rely on Bo and Vlad to be the offensive engine to this team, and it didn't work out that way. But you know what? Maybe they're ready at 27, 28, right? Like relying on
Yeah.
a 23 and a 24-year-old, that's it's a lot to put on their shoulders, whether you dislike Bo or not, whether you think that he was, you know, I think Bo being an introvert, he gets a lot of shit for it because Vladdy's so verbose, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's so flamboyant and fun and exciting. Whereas Bo
Mm-hmm.
very much is kind of the polar opposite of it. He keeps to himself. He smiles and he jokes around with the guys, but he's not an instigator, right? He's
Yeah.
not out there, you know, throwing seeds or
Mm-hmm.
you never see him with the Gatorade bucket, right? Like,
Right.
so I don't know, man. I really think that, and the other way this offseason could go is it could go nowhere. We could have no extensions. We could be staring down the barrel of a gun where our big prize, if they don't sign him in free agency, is compensation picks.
Yeah.
And dear God, man, if we're taking comp picks for Bo and Vlad and in the middle of a deep rebuild, holy fuck.
At least we'll have continuity in the front office. Okay. So some fact checking here. Blue Jays 2023 opening day roster. Whit Merrifield was the other second
Yes,
baseman.
thank you.
So the MLB.com description of our second base scenario was this position will be a revolving door that includes Espinal, Merrifield, and Kevin Biggio, who each plays second each day. Sorry. And who plays second base each day could depend on where the other two are needed because of positional versatility.
Yeah.
Getting Espinal more looks against lefties, whom he mashes, will be a priority for the Blue Jays in 2023. So Espinal splits against lefties in 2022, so the season he was coming off of when that article was written. He had a 301 batting average with an 826 OPS against lefties. But then all of a sudden in limited role in 2023, he had a 252 batting average and a 657 OPS against lefties. Like when you're just not going out there every day, like it's just you can't. Like
Yeah.
it's crazy to think, oh, this guy who's just an everyday player, like let's just I don't know. So yeah, these low end competitions for the low end spots is just not good. Like
Yeah. Man,
I
it
keep
sure is. It makes me anxious just thinking about this off season. Like, I hate the unknowing. Just not knowing sucks. And man, we know nothing right now.
yeah, yeah, it's gonna be a wild off season. That's for darn sure. But I'll
Really,
just
all
keep going
this.
back to the old football quote. Like if your team has two quarterbacks, your team has zero quarterbacks.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, I mean, this Shy Davidi article on Bo Bichette's current state has done nothing but muddy the waters even more than they were already muddied. So here we
Mhm.
are.
I do hope
All
he comes
right.
back though. Like all this to say,
Hey,
I hope he's back. I want him back. Regardless of what his motives are behind it. Who knows? Maybe Joey Votto retired and then saw Bo Bichette in the parking lot and was like, hey man,
don't take it for
here's
granted.
the thing about baseball. Yeah.
Yeah. You're a
Yeah.
star until one day you're in a parking lot in Buffalo.
Well, yeah. And like, Votto played his whole career with the Reds.
Yeah.
That's a cool thing to do. Like maybe there was some like wisdom imparted in that regard of like, hey, you have an opportunity to be, you know, face of a franchise and blah, like, Joey Votto could have any career he wants with the Reds after the game, like in broadcasting or
Yeah.
with
Oh,
whatever,
whatever he
right? Like
wants.
any kind of a hitting coach or PR, fucking
Yeah.
who's he, what's he could do whatever he wants with the Reds and they gladly take him. And Bo or Vlad could be in the same role 15 years from now, where it's like, hey, you have a chance to make $250 million and also just like live out your 40s to 80s as like a booth guy calling games for the Jays.
Yeah.
I don't
Absolutely,
know.
man. You could spend your whole life in this game you love.
Yeah.
It's
Beloved by the whole fan base. It's a pretty unique opportunity.
Grounds crew, drop your comments below. We'll tackle some of this in mailbag tomorrow. Would love to know your opinion on Bo Bichette, what you think of his comments, what you think the chances of an extension are, what you think the chances of an extension on Vladdy are. Because the truth is, if these two can get locked up, it changes the entire landscape of this organization. And with so much on the line right now, and truthfully, Mark Shapiro and Ross Atkins' job hopefully hanging in the fucking balance. My God, we said this last year too. Who knows if we'll ever see the end of these two? But I mean, you'd think they got to start showing something, especially as their contracts coming closer and closer to
Yeah.
an end here. So
Yep.
we'll see what goes on. All right. That was our Toronto Blue Jays stuff to talk about. We are going to touch on a few other topics. Normally, this is what we would normally be talking about in MLB Mondays is MLB content. But of course, how do you not talk about Bo Bichette when an article like that drops? So,
Mhm.
Adam, I will throw to you here, and we will talk base stealing.
Yeah, so of course it's happening in the Rays minor leagues. Um, Rays number 5 prospect becomes first player to steal 100 bases since 2012. Hasn't been done in the majors since 1987, by the way.
Yeah.
Um, Chandler Simpson, number 5 prospect with the Rays, who is fucking hitting the ball like nobody's
Yes.
business as well. So this isn't just a gadget player, right? This isn't a guy that just has speed, but
And this
is
is what
pinch
Major
runner
League
exclusively. This
This is
is
what
a real
Major League
weapon.
Baseball hasn't seen in so long, Adam, is a guy who hits and hits a lot, who also steals bases, right? We see him all the time in the Blue Jays system, right? There's guys like Jonathan Clase. There's Cam Eden last year, speedster. Stuart Baroa. We watched him on this team. But you know what their big flaws are is that they don't hit.
Yep.
And I shouldn't cast that as a wide net for all of them. Obviously, Jonathan Clase is still a work in progress, 22 years old. So Stuart Baroa for that matter. But these are guys that, you know, they hit around 250, but when they get on, look out. But this Simpson in the Rays system is hitting, what is it, 350 between high A and double A?
Yeah, 354 right now. Yeah, it's I think these are the players that baseball really needs to cultivate
Mm-hmm.
to like grow the game in the fun way that they want to.
And we've talked about this, Adam. We talked about this last year when or maybe it was even 2 years ago when they changed the rules and expanded the size of the bases.
Pick off
And we were
rules and yeah.
talking about how you can change rules all day long, but until the money
Uh-huh.
coincides with those rule changes, you're not going to see these stars try and steal bases, but we're starting to see that, aren't we? Look at Shohei Ohtani chasing down 50 for 50. Look at Ronald Acuna Jr. and the
I
absolute
can't believe he stole
menace.
as much as he did last year.
Yeah, like the menace that he was on the base path.
Ellie De La Cruz this year, 62 stolen bases, uh, OPS plus 124. So I I hope this is the new wave of superstars. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm still skeptical because home runs,
Yeah.
it's just such a black and white run on the scoreboard, right? Contributes to a win in one single event the way nothing else can, right? Like, you need four guys
No.
in a row to hit singles in order to score a run, right? You only
Yeah.
need one of them to hit a home run to score a run. So it's just, I don't know. I was wondering this just in terms of like the way players are played and the direction baseball's heading. When we were talking about the White Sox yesterday and them just being exceptionally bad and how like at least in other sports like in the NFL or NBA or NHL, if you suck, at least you get Connor Bedard, at
Yeah.
least you get whoever. Like you get a guy that you say, okay, we sucked really bad this year. Sorry for that. Next year we're already like a borderline playoff team. Like we go from
Mm-hmm.
worst in the league to like we got a good shot at making the playoffs here with
And
this
yes,
rookie
these
quarterback.
leagues have put in a lottery system and so on and so forth. But I know what your point is. The top end
Point
of the
is,
draft in those sports,
there's
like
an
if you get a top
immediate
five guy,
contribution to your team. And with baseball and the development of baseball, I like players are getting younger and younger, and the old guys aren't getting paid the same way they used to, right? Like it's just why baseball is waking up to the fact of like, why would I pay A-Rod at 35 this big deal when he's probably only going to hit 31 home runs total over the next 3 seasons? Like, why pay for his past achievements when he's past his prime when I could give that money to, Ellie De La Cruz and pay him
yeah,
through his prime, right? So, anyways, I just wonder if we would ever get to or if this is the secret plan that baseball's working towards, but like where guys step out of the draft and are just like major league ready. Like how do we get to a point where there's more Paul Skeneses,
I
where
don't know
there's
if you can,
more.
man. I don't know if you can. And I say that because I feel like if you could get there, 130 some years of baseball or whatever we are in would have already figured it out.
Yeah, like you might be right, but
We're probably going to see more skeins, like we're going to, boy, pluralizing skeins. That's a tough one. Skeins,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
if we're going to get more skeins-esque players, we are.
Mhm.
I just still think it's going to be a real minority.
Yeah, like what if there was like Juan Soto was super young, Ellie Delic, like there is more and more of these guys though that like are breaking through
Yeah.
super fast. But like, what if Major League Baseball did a minor league bridge system from Major League Baseball? Like players aren't drafted yet, but you go into this minor league development system. This is crazy spec. I'm talking like 20
I
years
mean,
from now. But like,
that's what they
is
have
there
college ball set up as, kind of, though,
I
right?
know, but
Like,
it's not working. Like it's
I
not
know.
developing enough, right? Like that's what I mean. Like baseball might benefit to just be like, we're gonna just do it in-house, right? Like we've got our I mean, it would take a total
Monopolize
revamp of the
baseball
minor
more.
leagues. But yeah, but like, I don't know. How do you I don't know, maybe it is just the fact of
I
like
don't
with
know if
pitchers
development can
are
be
in
expedited.
college. No, but like, I mean, Joel talked about like Ben Joyce throwing 105, right?
Mm,
And you draft him, and then why do you waste those bullets in the minor leagues, right? Like,
yeah.
I don't know. Like, baseball has done these paradigm shifts of we don't want pitchers anymore, we want throwers, right? Like, we don't want a guy that can work a count and induce weak contact, right? Like, we want vertical movement and RPMs or like whatever this stuff is, right? Like,
Sure.
so can it just be incentivized to go the other way where it's like, no, like a guy is just ready to pitch. Like he can just, I don't know, like do they got to lengthen the college season? Like I don't know how, because that's another thing too, right? It's like a guy comes in, he can't pitch 180 innings at the major league
Yeah.
level when his career max is 60 in college, right? So it's like, I don't know. But I think
I
that's a
don't
real
think
problem with baseball. I,
I
I
don't think
think
there's a
they're
solution. And I don't know. I'm gonna push back a little here. I don't
okay.
think it's a problem. I kind of like that baseball, you gotta put some time into development.
Here's why I think it is a problem. I think baseball recognizes that they're the only league that really can't make an event out of their draft.
Yes, that's true.
And they're trying,
They're trying.
but it is so like I don't know. I think there's this guy who's like stole 100 bases, Chandler, whatever his name is in Tampa, the number 5 prospect. Cool. He might make the majors in 2027. That's a really tough article to convince myself to get excited about.
Yeah.
A guy stole 100 bases in single A and double A.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe if
Grounds
the next
crew.
2 years goes right, we see him do it in the majors. I don't know.
Yeah. Drop your comments, folks. What do you think about this? Like, is there a way to go about expediting the development of these draftees prior to the draft to create more excitement, to create uh, a league that allows the top 5 to 10 guys to be difference makers right away? I don't know.
I know
I'm
one
kind of,
I know one issue that they've said with like guys making the leap from AAA to the majors is that there's not enough good pitching at the AAA level.
mhm.
So the jump in competition, like of the pitches you face in AAA, you can hit 315 in AAA and then come up to the majors and be like, holy fuck, this
Yeah,
is,
yeah,
the leap from AA to AAA is, 10 times that is the
it
leap from
is.
AAA to the majors, right? So I don't know how to fix that? Like, is that a
And
push the
is it
mound back
something that needs
situation?
and is it something that needs to be fixed? Like, I
I
don't
think it
know.
is. I
And
think it
that's
is.
fair.
I've seen these pitching machines, these high-tech pitching machines that are starting to roll out with all the data they have on these pitchers,
Yeah.
right? It's these pitching machines that have like, it's like a TV screen essentially, and then there's like the hole where the ball comes out of, and then they'll do like a video plays
Of
on the screen of the pitcher like with his delivery, and then as his hand comes, boom, ball shoots out. But they're able to put like the same spin on it at the same velocity that like so you can
yeah,
actually like I I
practice against
I well
Paul
I
Skeens.
as a consumer could go against Paul Skeens and be like, okay, I'm gonna whatever, and they'll throw an actual Paul Skeens fastball and a
Yeah.
or an actual Hyunjin Ryu curveball or an actual Kevin Gossman splitter or whatever, right? And it's like I don't know how they're able to actually do that, but they are.
Yeah.
And like maybe that's what they got to do more at the AAA level is be like, hey, you're gonna have your game reps, but then you're also gonna like just have to go face Justin Verlander prime in the batting cages. And like I don't know if that would actually work or not, but I don't know. That's
All right. Let's
um
end on some Shohei talk.
okay. Shohei Ohtani. Rockets 450-foot home run to reach 46 and 46. The
He's
46-46 club. It's a very exclusive club.
he's gonna do it, isn't
Um,
he? Like
he
50
has
and
to.
50.
Yeah. 50 and 50 feels very doable. Um,
How many games are left for the Dodgers? 20? 21? Sorry, I shouldn't put you on the
I
spot.
know there's 3 weeks left in the season, but with off days, let me just double check. The Dodgers are at 86 and 57, so that's what, 143?
So 21
So
games.
19
Oh,
games
19. Okay.
left, if I'm doing my math correct. I might not be, you might be right. But yeah, 20-ish games left to get 4 home runs. It's like feels so doable.
Yeah,
Um,
19. So in 19 games, can he hit 4 home runs and steal 4 bases? I mean, if I was betting, I would bet he could.
yeah, I would take the over on that for sure. It's
Listen, and I want to say too, if he doesn't steal another base or hit another home run the rest of the year, still incredibly fucking impressive and still something that has never been done. The 45 and 45 club. He's
uh-huh,
created a brand new club in baseball.
a new club. This is what I wonder about Shohei. I kind of told you this before we hit record, but like the the worst part about Shohei's situation is that there's only one of them, right? Is he doesn't have another Shohei to go against. There isn't another pitcher, hitter, unicorn, or even another player that's like power and speed the way he is. And you think back to like the home run races of the 90s with McGuire and Sosa and Barry Bonds and whatever, right? And it's just like
Mm-hmm.
Mark McGuire hit 70 home runs in I think 1999 or 1998. That is not as big a deal if Sammy Sosa didn't also hit like 68, 69 home runs and they were neck and neck trading back and forth from one day to the next who's in first place, right? Like,
Yeah. Hey, I couldn't agree more. And that is one thing, I mean, about humans, right? We do like comparables. Like,
yeah,
even when you're trying to explain what a band sounds like, you're like, he sounds like this band, right?
yeah, yeah,
You're trying to put into history what an accomplishment is done. And you right away, you're like, well, who else can we
yeah.
compare it to? And you're right, man. Like with Shohei,
I mean, there's the Babe Ruth stuff, but it's like so different and a
yeah,
hundred years ago,
and 100
right?
years ago. Even if it's more similar than we give it credit for.
Yeah, sure.
It's so
It's
long ago.
it's so long ago. So the idea of like it's happening right now would also just be, I don't know, we don't have that. But here's what I wonder with Shohei now that he's like putting in a 50-50 season is like maybe he just chases freak accomplishments for the rest of his life. He's like, there's nobody else that's anything like me. I'm gonna make a new club for myself, right? I'm gonna be the 50-50 guy.
Yeah.
There's only 8 40-40 guys ever. I'm gonna be the 50-50. Oh, Barry Bonds is in the 50-50 for his career. He has a 50 stolen base season and a 50 home run season. I'm gonna do it at the same time.
Yeah.
Right? Like he just because he is on such a wild another level, it just makes me wonder if just at some point in the next 3 years he goes, you know what? Fuck my batting average. I'm gonna just go crush 80 home runs. Like, would that surprise? Like, would you actually even be surprised if Shohei Ohtani
Nothing this,
had an 80 home run season at him? He's like,
I mean,
yeah,
obviously,
I'm the home run king. Like, if I'm not trying to hit like situational baseball and bring the guy in with a sac fly and like whatever, I'm gonna just go fucking mash because I can. Like, and there's nothing you can do to stop me. But who saw 50 stolen bases from Shohei coming?
great question. Like
Right?
nobody,
He just
nobody.
decided. He's like, well, if I'm not pitching, I got to do something else to have some fun. I'm gonna
Yeah.
steal.
And you know what's
So
wild is Shohei literally could be back pitching in the playoffs, which is
yeah,
mind blowing. I don't know if they would
yeah,
ever risk starting him, but can you
yeah,
see Shohei in that
yeah,
DH role out there hitting bombs, stealing
yeah,
bags, and then coming into the game in
yeah.
the bottom of the eighth? Like,
I know.
holy fuck,
It's
it's
wild.
possible. It's
It's
crazy.
wild.
It is so
Yeah.
wild.
So
We're
so
lucky to be living in the Shohei time.
I could see both of these. I could see him setting his mind to both of these things. 80 home runs next season in 2025, and then in 2026 he hits 400 for the year. It's like 7 home runs. It's just like I'm just Ichiro now. I'm just
Yeah.
gonna go contact. I'm just gonna place every hit and
Yeah.
hit 500 for all I know.
Yeah.
But like, why not? I just
There's
he's just
nothing
doing
Shohei
stupid stuff
can't
now.
do. Let's
Yeah.
end it on that. This has been MLB Mondays, normally a Patreon exclusive. I hope you enjoy the bonus content here. If you are interested in joining the Patreon, it is in our show notes, but you would do so by going to Adam.
Patreon.com/the Walkoff Podcast.
That easy, folks. And that automatically gets you 4 extra shows a month, instant access to all of our interviews, and the Patreon bump for Monday morning mailbags on a Tuesday afternoon. Have a great afternoon, everybody. We will see you tomorrow for mailbag. Take care.